And then this is around the general support, but then in order to help lift these younger individuals into more leadership roles in the organization, I think the other focus is around, you don't want to just do that and leave out the soft skills. So I know we don't touch that in this conversation too much, but that's been a lot of conversation these days on how do you give them a well-rounded education and training so that they can not only work in this environment, but also communicate effectively, and which is a huge step in moving up. And so I think that it will, open source things and sort of areas like that will be best addressed if we have well-rounded people that at all levels of an organization that understand the merits of this. And so it's sort of exactly.
It's the multidisciplinary. You have to decouple. You have to decouple the individual's ability from the platform they're on. So actually, in a lot of ways, I think that the capabilities are built around. And unfortunately, we came from not unfortunately, Power Builder side-based environment. I had one guy literally could not work outside of the Power Builder environment. He's no longer in my section. But that's the problem when they get that focused on it. So if you can decouple them, have them, multidisciplinary, they understand the underpinnings. I think my first information systems director, Dr. Hassan Al-Shazli, just told me, he said, all I need is memory, a bus, storage, processing power. Other than that, I'm technology agnostic. I don't care where I get it, and that goes for the cloud or wherever else. But a lot of people have to look at it as a very finite, I know this product, and I don't know that that's very helpful.
And I apologize if I'm taking too much time, but I also think what's important as well is that, really, really good open source developers, by their nature, have to be really, really good integrators as well. Because they've got to, okay, I want to, play around with this application. Well, I've got to download a web server. I've got to download, MySQL or something like that. So almost by default, before they can get to the fun stuff of actually developing code, they need to worry about these dependencies, these connections, how everything connects together and get them up and running. And I think, especially now when, we're at the point where, we need to re-question what technologies we're using, that again is a really, really cool thing to have, is really junior level developers with a sort of awareness of the complexities of architecture, which is a really cool place to be nowadays, I think.
Ravi, you read my mind. I was going to ask.
I have a different dimension to this situation. Being Blue Cross, been around for so many years, we have a good talented people of homogeneous people with all kinds of younger generation and our generation and other stuff. So what we have built a culture with when kids come out of college, we have an entry-level training program. We embrace them into our way of doing stuff. Like you said, what we do is an enterprise application development, and everything that we do is mission critical. So it has to run 24/7. If we can't process our claims for a day, we're going to lose millions of dollars. So what we have done, we have taken the best of both worlds, and we are driving with big companies like Oracle or IBM or Novell and Red Hat, taking these open source based products and exercising them to massive complexities. For example, I can give you an example where we ran into some situation where we wanted to run web services. We do today eligibility as a web service, millions of web services on the mobile phone and on the regular website. And when we were trying to put this into production, we ran into memory leak issue. And I think when you are a developer right out of school or a Java developer or anything, you don't really consider when is memory leak really going to become an issue. That's when companies like us have to reach out to somebody because it's a production issue. So we had to get IBM, and IBM had to get to Novell, and we had to have the SUSE Linux architect from Novell on site to figure out some memory leak issue at the kernel level. They said, well, we had to go back to the open source community, and in the next SUSE Linux kernel 10.3, we're going to put that in. So I think traditionally small companies would not have seen that. So I think we have built the best of both worlds. Old is gold, but at the same time, how do we enable our younger generation? And I have another example. We have right out of school, wanted to do some HTML5 and cascading style sheet. I went to Google to see what are they doing on the Android. So we didn't want to do a mobile app just on iPhone. We didn't want to just do it on Windows 7. And we said, who is following the industry standard? We found out that HTML5 is an industry standard, Android supports it, and iPhone supports it. And we said, we're going to develop our mobile app because our entire mainframe transactions are all service-oriented architecture. We used HTML5 and CSS3. The mobile app that you see today on your phones, Android and iPhone, also on iPad. Unfortunately, it doesn't work on Microsoft Windows because they're not HTML5 compliant. So what we are saying, we want to enable these college kids who are coming into an industry and tell them how they should use their knowledge on the open source community to make this product even better. And that has helped us really well. And we have people who love what they're doing. At the same time, we do a lot of prototypes and proof of concepts in the open source and drive that through the companies like IBM and Red Hat.
Right back to
For those of you in the back, I'm going to repeat this question.
I want to bring some age to this discussion. Would you share with me the thought process that you went through when you made the decision to move off of Microsoft to an open source kind of employee?
Well, as you know, Blue Cross is a very large insurance company, happen to be in healthcare, but we are a technology company, right? We have massive piece of technology. Every piece of technology on the planet, we have it, believe it or not. In the last 6 years ago, almost 6 years ago, our data center was getting overgrown. We had over 3,000 Windows servers. A lot of our Windows servers we have today is all for our presentation applications, all the web applications. Our transactions are all on the mainframe, millions of claims transactions we do every day. And we need to present that on the website. So they were all running on Windows servers. As we know, every time you build a Windows environment, you have a unit, system, qual, and production. Every one of them will require so many new servers. And a web application for our commercial line, for example, Blue Cross, SouthCarolinaBlues.com, we have over 150 servers. Then we're going to go another 100 servers for testing environment. So very soon we realized that we just don't have enough room in our data center to have all this many servers.
Or enough money.
Not enough money, heating and cooling.
No, actually, you probably do have enough money.
So we said, what can we do? Well, virtualization was getting very popular. We said, let's try the virtualization. We could have chosen to do we still do. In fact, we do virtualization on VMware. We still have hundreds of servers that still require to be running under Windows 2003, 2008. So we run them under VMware. But majority of our business applications, they're all running on Linux, on the mainframe. So we said, where could we run this Linux application? So we said, IBM has got the SUSE Linux, and it's indemnified by IBM. So we put WebSphere on Z Linux, Linux on the mainframe. And today, if you come to our data center, we have hundreds of cages, all empty. All of those Windows servers were decommissioned, and we put them in a closet, and we put everything on so that it doesn't go back to the data center. And we moved everything onto Z Linux, and it's probably the best thing that we have ever done. And we did that in a slow way, but today we have a mandate. Any new server we want to buy, we have to justify why it should be running under Windows, why not Linux. So that's the decision that we chose.
I commend you for your decision.
Oh.
Hey guys, for those of you in the back, sorry, Rand, I did not repeat his question. His question was, when you made the decision to move from Microsoft to open source, what was your rationale? What was your thinking? That's what Ravi was actually just
describing. I think it's because it's very overreaching and
Oh, I guess we have our CIO is a visionary CIO, and we believe in doing in one way and thinking big, right? And it's been very helpful for us as a
So I actually have a question for CIOs, because one of the things that's missing for government decision makers and maybe for enterprise as well is a lack of use case and documented use cases, documented ROI for open source. Because the Oracles of the world have a big marketing machine, they will make sure they do that. But for an open source project, there's really a lack of information. Have any of you ever actually written up any use case, or not use case, a business case or a case study for any of the work you've done internal to your organization with open source?
For the open standards for security, I have actually with Trusted Computing Group. So they're actually just now, unfortunately, they are behind the marketing machines, but they're just now kind of starting to publish that. But actually, I'm not sure from the use of the open source. Have you done?
No, we are a private company, and we don't really care about what Larry Ellison or other people would say about ROI on not doing open source, right? So I think we knew that by doing virtualization on Linux, it's going to help us, right? So we kind of very quickly put together some high-level cost model on how many servers do we need if we were to build a new project. We got every day we have over 300, 400 projects in our pipeline. So we had to just take one of those projects and say, if you were to do this under Windows environment, I'm not really saying anything bad about Windows, it has its place, but from an enterprise like us, Linux virtualization was the right thing to do. So we looked at how many servers do we need, and most importantly, I think, every time we spin up a Windows server, keeping up the same version patches, it was a nightmare. Today, I can start a Linux instance in 12 minutes. Every one of them is identical to the other one, and we apply the patches. Right there, we have tremendous savings. So it was over a period of time, it was just self-sustainable. We didn't really have to really go through that exercise.
I represent system integration. I truly understand what you're saying. You spin up Microsoft, it's at least 2-to-1. You fire up Windows, it's going to be 2-to-1, whatever you do.
Yes.
Sometimes it's even 4-to-1. And I want to make one other point to your comment, and that is the reason you were so successful is because your decisions started high.
Yes,
They
yes.
started to look. Your visionary was at the top.
Yes, yes.
But your technical people at the base supported that decision.
Yes, yes. And I think that's so true, though. Without an executive level sponsorship, this could not have been done. And I know I worked outside the companies. We have the strongest visionary who can see the way industry is going, where we should be going, rather than just reading the trade magazine and doing the ROI. Look at the business problem and apply the technology. Business should drive the technology.
Yeah. No, sorry, go ahead.
I'd like to also add one more comment to the gentleman that's getting ready to speak, is you're talking about adding value to your students. One of the things you can't give your students is called experience, okay? And so the hands-on part, everybody comes out with a certification, they go out to the employer, they can read the book, they can execute, but they can't deliver because they're missing the experience piece.
Wonderful point. There's somebody right next to you who's itching to say something about that.
All right, guys,
I'll save it, but you and I will talk.